Beneath the willow tree. Anna stood in front of the small cottage. It was old but charming. The roof was covered with moss, and the walls were painted white. A narrow path led to the front door. The air smelled fresh, mixed with the scent of grass and flowers. She had left the city 2 weeks ago. Life there was too fast, too loud, and too heavy. The breakup with James had been the last straw. She needed quiet, a place to breathe. This cottage, near the lake, seemed perfect. Anna opened the door and stepped inside. The wooden floor creaked under her feet. The living room was small, with a fireplace and a single couch. A bookshelf stood in the corner, filled with dusty books. Through the window, she could see the lake shining in the sunlight.
"This is it,"
She whispered to herself. Her voice echoed softly in the empty room. That evening, Anna sat by the window, watching the sky turn orange and pink. The willow trees near the lake swayed gently in the wind. She sipped her tea, feeling the quiet around her. For the first time in months, her heart felt a little lighter. But it wasn't easy to forget. James's words still echoed in her mind. "You care too much, Anna. It's exhausting." She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. The pain was still there, but she wanted to let it go. The next day, Anna decided to explore the area. She walked along the lake, her boots crunching on the gravel path. The willow trees by the water were tall and graceful. Their long branches touched the surface of the lake like fingertips. One tree stood out. Its trunk was wide and strong, with deep cracks in the bark. Anna walked closer and noticed something strange. The roots of the tree formed a hollow space. Inside, there was a small leather-bound book. Curious, Anna picked it up. The cover was worn, the leather soft and cracked. There was no title, just a name written on the first page in neat handwriting: Ethan Blake. That night, Anna sat by the fireplace with the book in her hands. She opened the first page.
April 5th, 1975. The willow tree is my refuge. Under its branches, I feel safe. Today, I met her, Clara. She smiled at me, and my world changed.
Anna read the words slowly. They felt alive, as if the writer was sitting next to her, sharing his thoughts. She turned the page.
April 12th, 1975. Clara loves the lake. She says it's like a mirror, showing us who we really are. She makes me feel like I can be myself. I haven't felt that in a long time.
Anna couldn't stop reading. The words pulled her in, like a thread unraveling a story. Ethan's love for Clara was clear, but there was also sadness. She could feel it in the way he described her, as if he feared losing her. As the fire crackled, Anna realized she hadn't thought about James all evening. Instead, she was thinking about Ethan, Clara, and the willow tree. Anna couldn't stop thinking about the journal. Every word felt like a piece of a puzzle, a story half told. That night, she barely slept. The next morning, she sat at the window again, the journal open in her lap.
May 30th, 1975. Clara's absence feels like a shadow over everything. I thought the willow tree would bring me peace, but now it feels empty without her laughter. I tried writing today, but my words are hollow. Maybe some things are too big for words.
Ethan's pain was palpable, and Honor felt it echo in her own heart. She remembered how lost she had felt after James had left, how the days had blurred into each other, filled with questions that had no answers. Honor spent the day exploring the town again, looking for anyone who might know more about Ethan or Clara. She stopped by the small bakery where she had seen an older man reading a newspaper the day before.
Excuse me.
She said softly.
Do you know anything about a man named Ethan Blake?
The man looked up, his eyes narrowing as he thought.
Ethan Blake, that's a name I haven't heard in years. He used to live by the lake, didn't he?
Yes, in the cottage I'm renting now.
Honor said.
I found an old journal of his. It talks about someone named Clara.
The man nodded slowly.
Clara was his muse, or so they said. She was a painter. Moved to town for a while, but then she disappeared. Rumors went around. Some said she left to follow her career. Others thought something bad happened to her.
Honor's curiosity deepened.
Do you know where she went?
The man shook his head.
No one does. After Clara left, Ethan wasn't the same. He stayed in town for a while, but then one day he just vanished.
That evening, Honor returned to the journal. She felt like she was piecing together a fragile web of lives, each thread connected to the willow tree.
June 10th, 1975. I thought time would dull the pain, but it hasn't. I go to the willow tree every day, hoping for something. A sign, a memory, anything, but the silence is unbearable. I keep asking myself, did I not love her enough? Or did I love her too much?
Honor's fingers tightened around the edges of the journal. Ethan's self-doubt mirrored her own. She had spent months wondering if she had been the problem in her relationship with James. Had she asked for too much? Had she been too emotional, too intense? The next day, Honor decided to visit a nearby art gallery. The bakery owner had mentioned that Clara was a painter, and Honor thought it was worth a try. The gallery was small and quiet, its walls lined with paintings of landscapes and still life. Honor wandered through the rooms, her eyes scanning each piece. Finally, in the back corner, she saw it, a painting of a willow tree by a lake. The style was soft and dreamlike, the colors blending into each other like a memory. The signature in the corner read Clara Mayfield. Honor's heart raced. She asked the gallery owner about the painting, but the woman knew little.
It was donated years ago.
She said.
We've tried to track the artist, but there's no record of her.
Back at the cottage, Honor flipped through the journal again, searching for clues. Near the end of the journal, Ethan's writing became more fragmented, as if his emotions had overwhelmed him.
July 1st, 1975. I've decided to leave. The willow tree is no longer my refuge. It's a reminder of what I've lost. I need to find Clara, to understand why she left. Maybe it's foolish, but I can't let her go without knowing the truth.
Honor closed the journal, her mind racing. Ethan had left to find Clara, but where had he gone? Did he find her, or was he still searching? The story felt unfinished, like a melody waiting for its final notes. Honor knew she couldn't stop now. She had to find Ethan. Anna woke with a sense of purpose. Ethan's story felt personal now, as if his quest had become hers. The journal was more than just words. It was a map leading her towards something she couldn't yet define. She spent the morning writing down everything she knew so far. Ethan was a writer who lived in the cottage. Clara was a painter who had inspired him, but she left suddenly. Ethan had left town to find Clara, but had vanished himself. The question was, where had he gone? Anna returned to the gallery that afternoon, determined to find more about Clara's painting. The gallery owner, a petite woman with glasses, greeted her with a polite smile.
I need to know about this painting.
Anna said, pointing to Willow by the lake. The owner tilted her head.
It's a beautiful piece, isn't it? We've had it for over 20 years.
Do you have any record of who donated it?
Anna asked. The owner flipped through a dusty ledger.
Here it is. It was donated anonymously. No name, just a note saying it was a gift to the gallery.
A gift. Anna's mind raced. Could it have been Ethan? That evening, back at the cottage, Anna searched for any other clues. She combed through the bookshelf, checked under loose floorboards, and even looked in the attic. Finally, tucked behind an old clock on the mantel, she found something, a postcard. The picture on the front was of a bustling city square, its buildings tall and ornate. On the back, in faded ink, were the words,
To Ethan. If you ever forgive me, come find me here. Clara.
The postcard was unsigned, but Anna recognized the handwriting. It was the same as the signature on the painting. The postmark read June 15, 1975. The city was Paris. Anna's heart pounded as she stared at the postcard. Paris, the city of light. Had Ethan gone there? Had he found Clara? She knew what she had to do. 2 weeks later, Anna stood on a cobblestone street in Paris. The air smelled of fresh bread and coffee, and the city hummed with life. She clutched the postcard tightly, her heart pounding with both excitement and fear. The address on the postcard led her to a quiet street lined with art studios. She entered one of them, her steps tentative. Inside, the walls were covered with paintings, some abstract, others rich with emotion.
May I help you?
A soft voice asked. Anna turned to see a man in his 60s, his eyes kind but weary.
I'm looking for someone who might have painted this.
Anna said, showing him a photo of Clara's Willow by the lake. The man studied the picture.
That's Clara's work.
He said. Anna's breath caught.
Do you know her? Where can I find her?
The man sighed.
I haven't seen Clara in years. She left Paris a long time ago. But Ethan, he stayed.
The man explained that Ethan had come to Paris in the summer of 1975, searching for Clara. He had lived in a small apartment near the Seine, writing stories and waiting for her.
He spoke of her often.
The man said.
But he never found her. Eventually, he stopped looking. He said the search had become his story.
Anna felt a lump in her throat.
Where is he now?
The man hesitated.
He passed away 5 years ago. But his work, his stories, they're still here.
He handed Anna a thin book. The title was simple. Beneath the Willow Tree. That night, Anna sat by the Seine, reading Ethan's book. It was a collection of stories, each one more beautiful and heartbreaking than the last. The final story was about a man who searched for love, only to find it in the act of searching itself.
Perhaps we don't need to find what we're looking for.
Ethan had written.
Perhaps the journey is enough.
As Honor closed the book, tears filled her eyes. Ethan's story had ended, but hers hadn't. She realized now that the answers she sought weren't about Ethan or Clara. They were about herself. The willow tree had brought her here, to this moment, to this understanding. Sometimes, letting go was the greatest act of love. And beneath the willow tree, life began anew. The next morning, Honor returned to the art studio. The man who had given her Ethan's book greeted her with a gentle smile.
Did you find what you were looking for?
He asked. Honor hesitated.
I'm not sure. Ethan's words. They're beautiful, but they've left me with more questions. Why did Clara leave? Did she ever know how much he loved her?
The man shook his head.
Sometimes love stories don't have clear endings. Maybe that's what makes them timeless.
He handed her another item, a yellowed envelope with her name scrawled on the front. Honor blinked in surprise.
How? How is my name on this?
The man smiled.
Ethan left it with the book, saying one day someone would come, someone who needed to read his words. It seems that someone is you.
Back at her apartment, Honor sat by the window overlooking the Seine. The envelope trembled in her hands. She opened it carefully, unfolding a single sheet of paper.
To the one who finds this, if you're reading my words, then you've walked some of the same paths I have. You've known longing, loss, and the ache of a heart searching for answers. Clara was my muse, but she was never mine to keep. Love taught me that holding on too tightly can break what's most fragile. I stopped searching for her when I realized she had already given me everything I needed, the courage to write, to feel, to live. If you're here, I hope you've found your own courage. Take it with you. Let it guide you to places you've never dared to go. And when you sit beneath a willow tree, remember, it's not the destination, but the journey that shapes us. Yours, Ethan Blake.
Tears slid down Honor's cheeks as she folded the letter. Ethan's words felt like they had been written just for her, even though they spanned decades. He had lived his life with open hands, embracing love and loss without letting them destroy him. She thought of James, of the pain she had carried for so long. For the first time, she felt the weight begin to lift. The next week, Honor left Paris, carrying Ethan's book and letter in her bag. Back at the cottage, the willow tree stood tall and serene, its branches swaying gently in the autumn breeze. Honor sat beneath it, her journal in her lap. She began to write. Not about Ethan or Clara, but about her own story. Days turned into weeks, and Honor found herself writing every morning. She poured her fears, her dreams, and her heartache onto the pages. Each word felt like a step forward, a way of understanding herself. One crisp morning, a publisher contacted her. They had read an article she had written about the journal she found and Ethan's story.
Your writing has a rare honesty.
The editor said.
We'd love to publish it.
Months later, Honor stood in a small bookstore, holding a copy of her first book. The title was simple yet meaningful, Beneath the Willow Tree. Readers sent letters, sharing how her words had touched their lives. Anna realized that Ethan's journey, and her own, had become a bridge for others seeking healing. Years later, Anna returned to Paris for a book signing. The gallery owner from before was there, holding a copy of her book.
You've done something beautiful.
He said.
Ethan would be proud.
As Anna walked along the Seine that evening, she paused by the water, watching the lights shimmer like stars. She no longer needed answers. The journey had been enough. Under the willow tree, love had taught her to let go, to grow, and to embrace the beauty of life's uncertainties.